Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you're well. You know, a generation ago, probably more than that actually, we were given a series of rights. You call them inalienable rights. They can't be taken off you, even though they have been in great number, which protected you from, well, trouble, for want of a better word. These are the rights that I'm talking about. And these are common law constitutional rights that belong to the English. Now, listen to some of these. The right of the realm of England and its subjects to defend themselves. The right to a jury. Park that one right there. The right to remain silent. That's another really big bone of contention. The right to govern ourselves via county, district and parish councils. The right of property freehold. The right to earn a living. That's something I'm fighting at the moment. The right to full freedom of navigation and trade. Yes, Sadiq Khan with his ULEZ. The right to bring up and protect our children. The right of habeas corpus. That the pretended power of suspending laws is illegal. The right to assert English ancient rights and liberties. That's just 11 of 19 common law rights given to the English. Now, I want to concentrate on number 2 and to an extent number 3, the right to a jury. You know, one of the basic fundamental rights that we have, and this goes back to Magna Carta, is the right to be tried in front of a jury of our peers. It's something that we hold dear and is something that should never be changed. And you have the Magistrates Act, I think from 1980 something, somebody tell me in the comments, where that starts getting diluted. And I saw the other day that David Lammy was talking about a push to recruit even more magistrates. So you end up with your fate being judged by an individual sitting on a bench rather than a jury of your peers. When you go to more serious crimes, in fact, if you go to any crime, you are entitled to face trial in front of a jury of your peers. Now, we had this thing which caused all the uproar, where they were talking about doing away with a jury trial for a great number of offences. And the excuse was to basically cure the backlog, which was utter bollocks. We all knew it. It was utter bollocks. You don't cure the backlog by getting rid of jury trials. In fact, you make a system very unfair. And I actually said at the time, I do believe that this is a cover. It's an excuse to bring in a more permanent arrangement. Oh, look at this. This works well, doesn't it? Let's make it permanent, further subverting our English constitution by doing so. Now, I saw this article I want to share with you, and I think it's very interesting and brings it right to the point. Let's make the screen bigger so you can see what's going on. So the headline there is, "They don't trust you. Labour exposed over plan to scrap juries." You see David Lammy there. So this is the key point here. Justice Minister confirmed that jury trial changes would proceed even if there wasn't any court backlog. So there you go, straight away, right there with that line. They're saying that, you know, the backlog isn't the thing. This is something that they want to bring in. Proposals remove the right to elect a jury trial for certain offences. You can't remove an inalienable right. It's here. I'm holding it in my hand. The plans have triggered opposition across Parliament, including from Labour MPs. So it's causing a bit of a furore. Labour has been accused of not trusting ordinary Britons after a senior Justice Minister admitted the government would scrap jury trials even if the court backlog did not exist. So here you go. It's all about scrapping jury trials. It's got nothing to do with the backlog whatsoever. The controversy centres on comments made in the House of Commons by Justice Minister Sarah Sackman, who confirmed Labour's plans to remove jury trials for certain offences was not driven solely by delays in the justice system. People ask me, would you be doing this if there wasn't a crisis in our courts? And I say yes, she told the MPs. The admission has sparked fury across Westminster, with critics arguing it reveals the policy is ideological rather than practical. What you have to remember, folks, as well, is that many of the Labour front bench are effectively communists because they're members of the Fabian Society. And if you look into the Fabian Society, they have a very communist stroke Marxist ideology about them. You look at the centrist way in which everything is being dealt with, all pulled in towards the state. That is exactly what's going on. This country, England, is in deep trouble. Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick said Labour had said the quiet part out loud. You know, as soon as they announced this, you know, Robert Jenrick ain't a bit of me, but he's right. You know, they said the quiet part out loud, accusing the government of holding the public in contempt. Like Blair before them, they don't like jury trials, he said. They just don't trust ordinary people. The proposals, backed by Justice Secretary David Lammy, yeah, well, he would, wouldn't he, would remove a defendant's right to choose a jury trial for so-called either-way offences, which typically carry shorter sentences. Instead, cases would be heard by magistrates or a single judge sitting in a new Crown Court division. So look, new Crown Court division. I'm sorry, no. Labour argues the changes are necessary to deal with mounting delays with the Crown Court backlog, expected to approach 100,000 cases by 2028. Serious crimes such as offing somebody and rape would still be heard by juries. However, the policy has exposed deep unease in Labour's own ranks. Labour MP Carl Turner has confirmed that he will vote against the proposals, warning they undermine a fundamental safeguard in the justice system, even at the risk of losing the party whip. The plans also mark a sharp reversal for Lammy, who wrote just 5 years ago that criminal trials without juries were a bad idea. He now insists the reforms are desperately needed. Yeah, okay. Conservatives have forced a Commons vote on the issue, branding the proposals an attack on the rule of law and a dilution of a right that has existed for more than 800 years. Now, that is very important there, that part about 800 years, because that shows that by virtue of the date, it's an English right that was given to you. There's nothing British about it. It's an English constitutional right, the right to a jury. As a backbench rebellion looms, Labour now faces an uncomfortable question. If this policy isn't about court delays, what exactly is it about? I'll tell you what it's about. It's very simple. If you have a look at Northern Ireland, if you have a look at Wales, and if you have a look at England, we have something in common. We have a common law jurisdiction. We're governed by the Constitution, the constitutional rights, some of which I just read out to you, including the right to a trial by jury. If you go the other side of Hadrian's Wall and you look at Scotland, for example, they're more of a administrative law system, call it Roman law, if you will, where many of their cases, many of their issues that have to be dealt with in court are dealt with in front of a judge. And the same is true when you look over in Europe. Many of the countries there are an administrative law system. You know, there's no common law about them. There's only 3 or 4 countries within Europe which are of a common law type jurisdiction. And the reason they are is because they take it from the English, Malta being one of them. And I think Gibraltar, and then I think there's 2 others. I can't remember after having done the research. But what they would ideally want to do, they would want to put an administrative stroke Roman law legal system in place through England, through Wales, through Northern Ireland. And what that would do is take away your right to a jury permanently. And this is one step along the line. If you remember the motto, or if you remember the emblem of the Fabian Society, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And they also use a turtle, slowly, slowly, by stealth. And that is what is playing out in front of our very eyes, folks. And the only way you can stop it is learn your rights, your inalienable rights that they actually can't take off you, and take your country back. Now, I said about right to remain silent. I saw yet another case the other day where 3 individuals ended up banged up because they were protesting about a foreign individual who'd done something very nasty to one of our young. And where they were banged up, they got longer than the guy they were protesting about. Now, if you find yourself in a position where you get a knock on the door for saying something naughty or whatever, shut up. Don't tell them anything. You have to exercise your right to remain silent, because they will look for any excuse to put you behind the door. And can you imagine the situation you'd find yourself in if there was no jury? This would increase the amount of normal, everyday people who'll end up in the nick. That's the way it's going, folks. Only you can stop it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. Follow me if it's on X that you're watching this. In any event, leave comments. Hit the like button. Share my stuff everywhere. And I'll talk to you soon. Toodaloo.